Good evening. Let's begin the meeting by singing hymn number 18. Be firm and be faithful, desert not the right. The brave become bolder, the darker the night. Then up and be doing, though cowards may fail. Thy duty pursuing, dare all, and prevail. Hymn 18. The theme of the readings this evening is courage. I'll be reading from the New English Bible, begin in the book of Psalms. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. Take courage and wait for the Lord. First Samuel. David came to Saul and entered his service. And Saul loved him dearly, and he became his armor-bearer. So Saul sent word to Jesse, "Let David stay in my service, for I am pleased with him." David succeeded so well in every venture on which Saul sent him that he was given a command in the army, and his promotion pleased the ordinary people and even pleased Saul's officers. At the homecoming of the army, when David returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, the women came out from all the cities of Israel to look on, and the dancers came out to meet King Saul with tambourines, singing and dancing. The women, as they made merry, sang to one another. Saul made havoc among thousands, but David among tens of thousands. Saul was furious, and the words rankled. He said, "They have given David tens of thousands, but me only thousands. What more can they do but make him king?" David led his men into action and succeeded in everything that he undertook, because the Lord was with him. When Saul saw how successful he was more afraid of him than ever. All Israel and Judah loved him because he took the field at their head. War broke out again, and David attacked the Philistines and dealt them such a blow that they ran before him. An evil spirit from the Lord came upon Saul as he was sitting in the house with his spear in his hand, and David was playing the harp. Saul tried to pin David to the wall with the spear, but he avoided the king's thrust so that Saul drove the spear into the wall. David escaped and got safely away. That night, Saul sent servants to keep watch on David's house intending to kill him in the morning. But David's wife, Michal, warned him to get away that night, or tomorrow, she said, you will be a dead man. The Ziphites came to Saul at Gibeah to report that David was hiding on the hill of Hakliah, overlooking Jezimon. Saul went down at once to the wilderness of Ziph, taking with him 3,000 picked men to search for David there. He encamped beside the road on the hill overlooking Jeshimon, while David was still in the wilderness. As soon as David knew that Saul had come to the wilderness in pursuit of him, he sent out scouts and found that Saul had reached such and such a place. Without delay, he went to the place where Saul had pitched his camp, and observed where Saul and Abner, son of Ner, the commander-in-chief, were lying. Saul lay within the lines with his troops, encamped in a circle round him. David turned to Elimelech the Hittite and Abishai, son of Zeruiah, Joab's brother, and said, "Who will venture with me into the camp to go to Saul?" Abishai answered, "I will." David and Abishai entered the camp at night and found Saul lying asleep within the lines, with his spear thrust into the ground by his head. Abner and the army were all lying all around him. Abishai said to David, "God has put your enemy in your power today. Let me strike him and pin him to the ground with one thrust of the spear. I shall not have to strike twice." David said to him, "Do him no harm. Who has ever lifted a finger against the Lord's anointed and gone unpunished? As the Lord lives," went on David, "the Lord will strike him down. Either his time will come, or he will die, or he will go down into battle and meet his end. God forbid that I should lift a finger against the Lord's anointed. But now, let us take the spear which is by his head and the water jar and go." So David took the spear and the water jar from beside Saul's head, and they went. The whole camp was asleep. No one saw him. No one knew anything. No one even woke up. A heavy sleep sent by the Lord had fallen on them. Then David crossed over to the other side and stood on the top of a hill a long way off. There was no little distance between them. David shouted across to the army and hailed, "Abner, answer me, Abner." He answered, "Who are you to shout to the king?" David said to Abner, "Do you call yourself a man? Is there anyone like you in Israel? Why then did you not keep watch over your lord the king when someone came to harm your lord the king? Look, where are the king's spear and the water jar that were by his head?" Saul recognized David's voice and said, "Is that you, David, my son?" "Yes, sir, it is," said David. "Why must your majesty pursue me? What have I done? What mischief am I plotting?" Saul answered, "I have done wrong. Come back, David, my son. You have held my life precious this day, and I will never harm you again. I have been a fool. I have been sadly in the wrong." David answered, "Here is the king's spear. Let one of your men come across and fetch it. The Lord who rewards uprightness and loyalty will reward the man into whose power he put you today, when I refuse to lift a finger against the Lord's anointed. As I held your life precious today, so may the Lord hold mine precious and deliver me from every distress." Then Saul said to David, "A blessing is on you, David, my son. You will do great things and be victorious." So David went on his way, and Saul returned home. John. When the festival was already half over, Jesus went up to the temple and began to teach. The Jews were astonished. "How is it," they said, "that this untrained man has such learning?" Jesus replied, "The teaching that I give is not my own. It is the teaching of him who sent me. Whoever has the will to do the will of God shall know whether my teaching comes from him or is merely my own. Anyone whose teaching is merely his own aims at honor for himself. But if a man aims at the honor of him who sent him, he is sincere, and there is nothing false in him. Did not Moses give you the law? Yet you all break it. Why are you trying to kill me? Once only have I done work on the Sabbath, and you all are taken aback. But consider, Moses gave you the law of circumcision, and you circumcised on the Sabbath. Well then, if a child is circumcised on the Sabbath to avoid breaking the law of Moses, why are you indignant with me for giving health on the Sabbath to the whole of a man's body? Do not judge superficially, but be just in your judgments." At this, some of the people of Jerusalem began to say, "Is not this the man they want to put to death? And here he is, speaking openly, and they have not a word to say to him. Can it be that our rulers have actually decided that this is the Messiah? And yet we know where this man comes from, but when the Messiah appears, no one is to know where he comes from." Thereupon Jesus cried aloud as he taught in the temple, "No doubt you know me. No doubt you know where I come from. Yet I have not come of my own accord. I was sent by the one who truly is, and him you do not know. I know him because I come from him, and he it is who sent me." At this they tried to seize him, but no one laid a hand on him because his appointed hour had not yet come. Psalms. Be strong and take courage, all you whose hope is in the Lord. I'll also read correlative passages from the Christian Science textbook, Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. It requires courage to utter truth. For the higher truth lifts her voice, the louder will error scream until its inarticulate sound is forever silenced in oblivion. This conviction that there is no real pleasure in sin is one of the most important points in the theology of Christian Science. Arouse the sinner to this new and true view of sin, show him that sin confers no pleasure, and this knowledge strengthens his moral courage and increases his ability to master evil and to love good. Mind is the grand creator, and there can be no power except that which is derived from mind. If mind was first chronologically, is first potentially, and must be first eternally, then give to mind the glory, honor, dominion, and power everlastingly due its holy name. Inferior and unspiritual methods of healing may try to make mind and drugs coalesce, but the two will not mingle scientifically. Why should we wish to make them do so, since no good can come of it? If mind is foremost and superior, let us rely upon mind, which needs no cooperation from lower powers, even if these so-called powers are real. Naught is the squire when the king is nigh, withdraws the star when dawns the sun's brave light. The Christian scientist, understanding scientifically that all is mind, commences with mental causation, the truth of being, to destroy the error. This corrective is an alterative, reaching to every part of the human system. According to Scripture, It searches the joints and marrow, and it restores the harmony of man. The matter physician deals with matter as both his foe and his remedy. He regards the ailment as weakened or strengthened according to the evidence which matter presents. The metaphysician, making mind his basis of operation, irrespective of matter, and regarding the truth and harmony of being as superior to error and discord, has rendered himself strong instead of weak to cope with the case. And he proportionately strengthens his patient with the stimulus of courage and conscious power. Both science and consciousness are now at work in the economy of being according to the law of mind, which ultimately asserts its absolute supremacy. Never tell the sick that they have more courage than strength. Tell them rather that their strength is in proportion to their courage. If you make the sick realize this great truism, there will be no reaction from overexertion or from excited conditions. Maintain the facts of Christian Science, that spirit is God and therefore cannot be sick, that what is termed matter cannot be sick, that all causation is mind, acting through spiritual law. Excuse me. Then hold your ground with the unshaken understanding of truth and love, and you will win. When you silence the witness against your plea, you destroy the evidence, for the disease disappears. The evidence before the corporeal senses is not the science of immortal man. To the Christian Science healer, sickness is a dream from which the patient needs to be awakened. Disease should not appear real to the physician, since it is demonstrable that the way to cure the patient is to make disease unreal to him. To do this, the physician must understand the unreality of disease in science. Every trial of our faith in God makes us stronger. The more difficult seems the material condition to be overcome by spirit, the stronger should be our faith, and the purer our love. The Apostle John says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear. He that feareth is not made perfect in love." Here is a definite and inspired proclamation of Christian Science. The struggle for truth makes one strong instead of weak, resting instead of wearying one. When the ocean is stirred by a storm, when the clouds lower, the wind shrieks through the tightened shrouds, and the waves lift themselves into mountains, we ask the helmsman, "Do you know your course? Can you steer safely amid the storm?" He answers bravely, but even the dauntless seaman is not sure of his safety. Nautical science is not equal to the science of mind. Yet, acting upon his highest understanding, firm at the post of duty, the mariner works on and awaits the issue. Thus should we deport ourselves on the seething ocean of sorrow. Hoping and working, one should stick to the wreck until an irresistible propulsion precipitates his doom, or sunshine gladdens the troubled sea. The notion that animal natures can possibly give force to character is too absurd for consideration, when we remember that through spiritual ascendancy, our Lord and Master healed the sick, raised the dead, and commanded even the winds and waves to obey him. Grace and truth are potent beyond all other means and methods. The lack of spiritual power in the limited demonstration of popular Christianity does not put to silence the labor of centuries. Spiritual, not corporeal, consciousness is needed. Man delivered from sin, disease, and death presents the true likeness or spiritual ideal. Remember, thou Christian martyr, it is enough if thou art found worthy to unloose the sandals of thy Master's feet. To suppose that persecution for righteousness' sake belongs to the past, and that Christianity today is at peace with the world because it is honored by sects and societies, is to mistake the very nature of religion. Error repeats itself. The trials encountered by prophet, disciple, and apostle, of whom the world was not worthy, await in some form every pioneer of truth. There's too much animal courage in society and not sufficient moral courage. Christians must take up arms against error at home and abroad. They must grapple with sin in themselves and in others and continue this warfare until they have finished their course. If they keep the faith, they will have the crown of rejoicing. Where were the 70 whom Jesus sent forth? Were all conspirators, save 11? Had they forgotten the great exponent of God? Had they so soon lost sight of his mighty works, his toils, privations, sacrifices, his divine patience, sublime courage, and unrequited affection? Oh, why did they not gratify his last human yearning with one sign of fidelity? The meek demonstrator of good, the highest instructor and friend of man, met his earthly fate alone with God. No human eye was there to pity, no arm to save. Forsaken by all whom he had blessed, this faithful sentinel of God at the highest post of power, charged with the grandest trust of heaven, was ready to be transformed by the renewing of the infinite Spirit. He was to prove that the Christ is not subject to material conditions, but is above the reach of human wrath and is able, through truth, life, and love, to triumph over sin, sickness, death, and the grave. Moral courage is the lion of the tribe of Judah, the king of the mental realm. Free and fearless it roams in the forest. Undisturbed it lies in the open field or rests in green pastures beside the still waters. In the figurative transmission from the divine thought to the human, diligence, promptness, and perseverance are likened to the cattle upon 1,000 hills. They carry the baggage of stern resolve and keep pace with highest purpose. Tenderness accompanies all the might imparted by Spirit. The individuality created by God is not carnivorous, as witnessed the millennial estate pictured by Isaiah. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. Understanding the control which love held over all, David felt safe in the lion's den, and Paul proved the viper to be harmless. All of God's creatures, moving in the harmony of science, are harmless, useful, indestructible. A realization of this grand verity was a source of strength to the ancient worthies. It supports Christian healing and enables its possessor to emulate the example of Jesus. Please join now in a few moments of silent prayer, and then repeat together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Our second hymn this evening is number 399. Ye timid saints, fresh courage take. The clouds ye so much dread are big with mercy and will break in blessings on your head. Hymn 399. The worldwide organization of the Church of Christ Scientists is made up of the Mother Church, the First Church of Christ Scientists in Boston, Massachusetts, and its branches. This church is one of the branches. We hold services every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. The services are also live streamed on Zoom to those that are unable to join us here in our church auditorium. If you would like the link to the Zoom broadcast, please give your email address to the usher, or if you're watching this meeting on YouTube, send us an email and we'll send you the Zoom link to our meetings. During the Sunday service, children and teenagers meet in our Sunday school, where they learn to apply Christian Science to their daily lives. The church also provides a public reading room as a loving outreach to our community. There, the Bible, the Christian Science textbook, and other Christian Science literature may be studied, borrowed, or purchased. The reading room is open after every Sunday service and before each Wednesday evening meeting. If you would like access to the reading room at any other time, just let us know, and we'll meet you there at your convenience. For access to our website, our Facebook page, the YouTube recordings of our Sunday services and Wednesday evening meetings, or to follow our Instagram posts, just enter Third Church Miami in your internet browser. Everyone is invited to attend our services, use the reading room, bring children to the Sunday school, and visit our website and Facebook page. This meeting is now open to you to share testimonies of healing and remarks on Christian Science. Remember, if you are at home, unmute yourself so we can hear what you have to say. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Thank you to Dan and Eli again for Sunday and for bringing us our music this evening. Thank you to Joe and Josker for letting our light shine out in the world. Let's close the meeting now singing hymn number 85. God of truth, eternal good, lift our hearts to revelation, that thou mayest be understood, thou the rock of our salvation. All thy love we have for loving, all thy truth is ours for proving. Hymn 85. you.